Hello everyone and welcome to Tonic Studios. I'm Leo and today I'm going to be showing you a make, which is this nice card that I've done here using the Ahoy Sailor stamp and die set. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this make is mousse my background. So I have a piece of black cardstock and I have some Nouveau chalk mousse in lemon curd I've decided to go with here today. And I'm just going to use this to add a little bit of texture and a little bit more colour to my background. So what I'm going to do, I have already die cut my panel to go over the top and I want to make sure that I'm putting the mousse in the right place for where my pieces are going to sit. So I'm just going to line up my piece of black card behind my white card and also my Lighthouse, roughly where that's going to sit. And then taking a stabby tool, I don't know the proper name of it, but my stabby tool.
Craft pick.
Craft pick, thanks Alex, thank you. Where the light comes out of the top of the lighthouse, I'm just going to stab myself a little line of holes into my black cardstock. There we go, just so I know roughly where I want to get that mousse to go. And then you can use any tool for this. I've got a couple of different spatulas and one of the Nouveau spatulas as well. I'm actually going to take a little smaller pointy one for this just so I can get the points. And then finding my line of dots, which is just here, I'm just going to add some of this lovely creamy mousse. This is a fresh pot, so it's really nice and smooth. And I just want to make a sort of light pattern in the background. So if you can imagine your lighthouse is sending out its little beam of light into the darkness and the sort of pattern that that would make across the sky. Very artistic. And I'm just going to spread this all the way along. And I want this to go quite a long way across the background of my card. And you can add as much or as little of this as you want. If you want it to be sort of really built up and textured with the mousse, you can absolutely do that. Or if you want to sort of finer look, if you want to see the black sort of through the mousse, you can thin it out a bit as well. Play with it and make it your own. Okay, just pull it out a little bit further. Tiny bit more on that side. And I'm just going to pull some texture through it to finish it off. Like so. And pop the lid back on that. I'm going to pop this to one side to dry. Obviously it's not going to dry for me to assemble my card, so I do have one done already, but just pop that to one side while you finish off for the rest of your card. So the next thing I'm going to do is a little bit of stamping, and I have already pre-cut again a piece on here, and I've actually used one of the dies in the die set for this. So this is the outside piece of the sort of rope border, and I've just used this to make an aperture on my card front here. And I'm going to stamp one of the sentiment stamps onto this, and I've gone with, not that one, that's Bon Voyage, there it is. This one says, you're the light of my life, which is a lovely sentiment, and I'm going to use a stamp platform to make sure I get this perfectly lined up on my card front. So pop your piece of die cut cardstock onto there and place your stamp where you want it to go. So I'm putting it down in the bottom right hand corner. And pick up that stamp. Make sure it's nice and firmly pressed on. And then I have just some plain black ink today. I'm going to ink up my stamp. Nice light taps on there, you don't need to really smush it in. You can always add more if you need to. Ooh. Close the lid on the platform and then just press all the way across the surface of the stamp just to make sure you get a nice contact all the way over there. And if you're not quite happy with how inked it is, because we're using a stamp platform, we can do it a second time and double up the ink This would be impossible to do if you were doing this just on a normal stamp block, so I really like using a stamp platform when I'm stamping sentiments like this, because it will land in exactly the same place. You're not going to get any sort of feathered edges or weird bits where you've not landed it quite right the second time. Okay, there we go. So you can see this time I've got a much darker stamp on there, so I'm happy with that. Bring that out. Pop that to one side. And then I have this die cut piece that I've made up with the Lighthouse. I've done quite a few of these. So I have, hopefully you can see this, I've die cut the background in a darker grey, and then I've die cut it again with the pieces cut out of the centre, also in the dark grey, and layered that up. And then I've just paper pieced in, so I've got the light in yellow, some little stripes in red, and I'm going to finish off the stonework in the front. So I have a couple more pieces here, and some deluxe adhesive. I'm just going to finish piecing these pieces back into my lighthouse. I love the look of this, the sort of stones that are cut out, and I thought that was perfect for doing them slightly two-tone. And if I can remember which piece goes where, it's always the fun part of paper piecing. That one goes there. I think that one goes in there. Yes, okay, this one must be the one. So again, I'm just using a very small amount of glue on the back of here. You don't want this to squeeze out of the edges as you put it into place. That would ruin the finished look of your project. Just a tiny bit on there. I always say less is more with glue, and when you're squeezing the glue bottle, just start out gently. You can always add a bit more pressure if you need to, but if you squirt out a huge dollop, you're kind of stuck with it at that point. Okay, last piece. Save the smallest one to last, of course. And then I'll pop that into its place. Have I got that the right way around? Yes, I have. There we go, slot into place. So that's our finished little lighthouse for the front of the card. And then it's time to actually layer up our card pieces. So I have a standard card blank and a piece of gold mirror foil that I've cut to size. I shall glue this on. So I just want a nice thin bead of glue right the way around the edge to make sure I get a good bond and it doesn't sort of flap around the edges of my card. And then a little swish across the middle for extra stability. Lay that into place on the front of the card. And with liquid glue, if it doesn't land quite right the first time, you can, smooth it around and move it if you need to. Okay, press that into place. You definitely want to be very careful with the amount of glue you use when you're using mirror card, because if you get any glue on the front, it is really going to show up. Here is my dried black piece, and I'm actually going to stick this to the back of the aperture and then stick the whole lot onto my card. So turning my aperture piece cut out over, I'm going to put some glue right around the opening. Again, just a little bit, you don't want too much, and then just a little bit around the edges as well. Pop that down, and then I'm going to lay my black piece over the top. And it is cut ever so slightly smaller than my card front. Smooth that all into place. And there's that piece. And I'm going to pop this on with some foam pads, which I've again forgotten to take out of the packet. Nice bit of rustling noise for you. Okay, a couple of foam pads going onto the back. I'm going to add a couple across the middle just to help give it a little bit of extra support. Peel the backs off there. And then this is going to go over the top of the mirror card. Now this time I'm not using liquid glue, so I need to make sure I line this up before I stick it down. Okay, that looks good. Just press those all into place. I'm going to add on my lighthouse. Before I do that, I need my light beam, and I've cut this again out of the gold mirrored foil. I'm just going to stick this right on the edge of my lighthouse. A little light beam. I'm going to pop that down and just give that a few seconds to bond while I add a couple more foam pads across the back. So a couple on the lighthouse. And then I've got a couple of the smaller ones that I'm just going to put onto the actual light beam. Again, I want to make sure this is well supported and adhered to the front of my card. Okay, hopefully that should be nicely bonded. Peel the backs off all of those foam pads. She says if she can get this one off. So having nails comes in handy. Okay. There it is. Got it. And then I'm going to sit my lighthouse just onto the front of my card, making sure that my little light beam is nicely centered there with my mousse. Pop that into place. And there is my finished card using the Ahoy Sailor stamp and die set. I hope you've enjoyed this project and it's given you some inspiration to have a go yourself. If you do try any makes using this set, please do tag us on social media. I'd love to see what you've been making. Happy crafting!